Welcome to Saturday Racing. Today is May 4th, 2019, and we have winds out of the south-southeast at about 11 miles an hour. And windward leeward course was set up, 40 seconds to go. Now, we intended to favor the other end, and it is a little bit favored, but everybody seems to be. Go forward, Abraham. Go forward. What are you doing? Go forward. And so we got 20 seconds to go. All right, go to the right. You see, we're getting close to the anchor line. And we have 5 boats out here today. And there's 8 seconds to go. 4, 3, 2, 1. All clear! And Barbie was up on the line going fast. But you see, it looks like the wind shifted right a little bit, and Violet is actually, I think they're winning the race. Because if any of these leeward boats tacked over because of the port starboard rule, they'd have to duck a Violet and Peanut. Now Peanut's in the wind shadow of Violet, so they need to get out of there. They need to tack. They should tack right now. Don't stay there because you're just moving backwards forward compared to the other boat. All right, let's see what happens. Here we are at the weather mark. That's the offset mark, that yellow one. And a couple of these boats overstood. So, they gave up a little bit on their lead when they did that. But see, the green boat is, they're going to go behind Violet. So it looks like this boat right here is in the lead right now. They overstood a little bit, but and the red sail boat may be even with them because you see they're sailing in the groove on the wind, and this other boat, I think it's got number 2 on the sail. I think that's Barbie. Is they'll probably go around the mark first. All right, so looks like Barbie is going to go around first. And they'll sail to the yellow offset mark and then head dead downwind. That's Burley Smith on the tiller. And they didn't have a lot of momentum in that tack. I think they should have been trimming the main a little closer to the wind. All right, and that's Gary Sprague helming some newbies in Violet. And that crew inadvertently backed the jib, which actually is a good thing in these winds because it helps spin your bow around in the tack and get it over there faster. So a little bit of backing of the jib is good. Now, Filbert here is having trouble. They're in irons. And so, when you get in irons, you lose steerage. And so, I got to let that jib go and get that boat moving, just get the momentum going. We have a bullseye out here racing with us. All right. That's a pretty good tack. Now the crew should be moving their weight around, and a modified roll tack is a good idea in these winds, in these boats. And so we'll go over how to do one of those in a later video. All right, so the boats are going to run back to the finish, and then we'll get started in the next race right away. Now, if I was this blue boat, I would go on the attack on the green boat. I'd jibe over, get on their wind, try and pass them. And the red boat is kind of stalled out. They need to get that jib drawing. So they need to head up, sharpen up, heat up the course, or they could get past. All right, here we are at the finish, and Barbie is going to win this race. And in second, it looks like Violet. They need to really wing that jib out on the port side and get it drawing, because it's really not helping when it's blanketed by the main. And you see how the blue boat is got a hotter speed? Well, they just didn't have enough time to catch up with Violet. And but when you're sailing downwind, it's all about velocity made good, VMG, to that leeward mark. And you have to kind of weigh your boat speed against your heading and determine what's the fastest way to get there and not sail too far out of your way, is essentially how I explain that. All right, so there's Filbert in fifth and the bullseye. So we're going to get started in the next race right away, and we may go shift a couple marks around. All right, here we are at the start of race number 2, and there's 45 seconds to go, and Peanut is way, way, way too leeward. They're not maybe going to make it for this start. So we have 35 seconds to go, and I like how the blue boat is up closest to the starting line. And now they need to be careful of leeward boats, because leeward has right away over windward, and leeward can drive them up over the line. So if I was them, I'd get just a little further down that line so they can't be affected, because Filbert is coming up behind them to leeward, and Filbert will have the rights. 10 seconds. All right, so here's the line, and we got a big crowd of boats down here. 2 seconds. 1. All clear, and the blue boat, Paul, won that start. Now, we had shifted that yellow buoy on the other end of the line further upwind to try and favor the other end a little bit, because everybody's in the habit of starting on this end of the line because they feel they get that starboard tack advantage. So we often get traffic jams over here, and we like to try and not have traffic jams. And so Filbert tacked over. They were in the bad air of those other boats. You know, the wind shadows in conditions like this will extend 5 boat lengths to leeward and affect boats that are 5 boat lengths down in their wind shadow. So you just want to be aware of that. All right, so right now it looks like Barbie is winning this race, possibly, or the blue boat. And now last time some boats overstood the weather mark, so you don't want to go too far on the left side. If I was Barbie, I'd think about just tacking over, unless they're trying to stick with those other competitors. So it looks like we had a port starboard situation down there between the blue boat and Barbie, and Barbie's on starboard, so the port tack must give way, must stay out of their way, and they did, and so they tacked back. Now Barbie needs to get back over, because I think they're overstanding, and they could jeopardize their lead if they go too far to the left. Here we are at the weather mark, and there's Barbie. They overstood a little bit, although they're getting a knock, so they may be right on the ley line now. And so if we get a lift and the boats are able to point higher, the blue boat may catch Barbie, but it looks like they're getting a knock. The wind shifted right. That is a veering shift instead of a backing shift. And it's shifting through about 12 degrees today, it looks like. And let's go forward a little bit and shift left. So let's see what's going to happen here. All right, so there's Barbie going around first, and then here's the rest of the fleet. Peanut, the green boat, tacked too soon. They're going to underlay, and the problem with that is you're going to have to tack 2 times to get around that mark, and Now they tacked over onto port. They have no rights on that starboard tacker. Oh, geez, we're gonna have look closer. And so when you have, every time you tack in conditions like this, you lose about 2 boat lengths. If you can do a roll tack, you might only lose 1. And so you want to minimize your tacks and try and gauge that ley line. That's the closest course to just get around that mark. Now, it's been shifting up here quite a bit, so everybody's had to reassess the ley line. Now, you see how Peanut just tacked and they lost all momentum, and now they're, kind of dead in the water. You need to maintain that momentum through your tacks, because that bullseye, which was way behind them, is now, has caught up to them because their tacks weren't executed so well. All right, so now here comes Filbert on starboard, and the green boat needs to probably tack over, like right now. Okay, now it's totally legal to do that, but if the boat behind them overtakes them and to avoid a collision must go above close haul, well, then the green boat broke a rule. But actually, Filbert got room to go beneath them and to round the mark, so no rule was broken. All right. At the finish, and Barbie is going to win the race, followed by Paul, the blue boat. And then we have Violet, and we have a battle going on for 4th place, so we'll see what happens there. All right, so Violet is next, and then we have, it looks like Peanut and Filbert. There's the bullseye. So it looks like Peanut, the green boat, has clear air for the finish, so they're going to be 4th, and Filbert will be 5th. All right, it's 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, remember, if there's a discrepancy between the signal made, well, the visual signal and the sound signal, remember the visual signal always governs. All right, there's 50 seconds to go before the start. And here are some of the boats over here getting set up. And Violet, the red boat, is said that the blue boat was barging on them the last race, so they're not going to let that happen. Barging means they're like a windward boat who's not staying clear of the leeward boat. Because the leeward boat has the right to make the windward boat head up. Now, the leeward boat must leave room and opportunity for the windward boat to keep clear. All right, there's 10 seconds. And I like how Peanut's up on the line going fast. They may be able to tack over and port tack the fleet. There's 3 seconds, 2, 1. All clear! And I like how Barbie, number 2, is up on the line. They've been getting consistently good starts. And actually, I think Barbie might be winning this. Actually, well, Violet is pulling ahead now. Barbie's mane is out too far. It needs to be trimmed a little bit. And you see how the weight distribution on the red sail boat is different. They have one person to leeward. And you see how the boat is just sailing better on its lines. Yeah, Barbie needs to do that too. Now, Barbie got in their wind shadow and was falling behind, so they're going to tack to clear their air. You always want to try and stay in a clear lane of air if you can. And if I was the red sail boat, since all the major competitors who've been finishing in the top part of the fleet have tacked over to port, I would tack and cover them. You know, don't go all the way to that left side, because if you get just a small adverse wind shift, you could lose your lead very quickly by not covering and not sailing up the middle of that course. All right, so well, let's see what happens. All right, here we are at the weather mark. And Violet going to go around first. And these other boats are having a little trouble laying, but if they keep their momentum up, they can make it. Now, the blue boat is having a luff around the mark. I hope they have enough momentum because there is a small current running from left to right on your screen that can set you into the mark if you're not careful, if you don't have enough speed. Now, you see how number 2, Barbie's, they're not laying the mark. So they need to just complete their tack and, keep that momentum up. Don't let the boat slow way down and get into irons. All right, so Filbert's right on their tail, and looks like both boats are going to tack to get around with no problem. And here comes the bullseye. Wow, what a great day to be out on the water. Oh, Violet was first. Paul was second. Peanut was third. Looks like Barbie is fourth. And Filbert fifth. And that's going to do it for today. We're going to head in, have some beer and sandwiches, and give out awards. Barbie, please come forward.
Barely go.
For your award. Woo! And face the camera. Camera's out of the way. Good job. Excellent job.
Good.
Most experienced Stephen. Okay, here we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.